This set of data is based on table and it is the easiest set among the four data sets. In this problem we don't need to do any calculation or need to go for search of any logic in order to answer any question. Simple observation of given figures will give us answer to all the four questions. The following table shows the details of various mutual fund schemes available in the market. The returns indicate the average return over the given period, 1 year or 3 year in rupee terms. From the table we can check the assets of given schemes, like assets of SBC equity is 1108.3 crore. 1 year return of the same company is 93.36. Return 1 year SIP is 60.99. Return 3 year is not known. Best 1 year return is 195.44. Worst 1 year return is 93.33. And similarly we can check these parameters for the remaining schemes. Further it is given that according to the directives of SEBI, this scheme among those given above having the highest ratio of difference between best 1 year, which means this column, and worst 1 year, adjust column adjacent to it, to the assets of that scheme will be given a gold medal. So it is talking about the ratio of difference between best 1 year return and worst 1 year return, that is 195.44 minus 93.33 upon 1108.3 for HSBC equity. The second best ratio holder scheme gets a silver medal. This schemes having the worst two ratios will be barred from doing any business in the future. So given information is easy to understand. And now move to the questions. In first question it is asking how many schemes are there with assets more than 500 crore and the ratio of best 1 year return to return 1 year is more than 2. On observation we find this ratio is more than 2 for all the given schemes. So here we just need to check what are the companies whose assets is less than 500 crore, and on observation we find that these companies are Reliance Growth, Birla Dividend Yield Plus, and Templeton India Growth. These are the three companies whose assets are less than 500. So the required number of companies will be 10 minus 3, that is 7, which is option C. In the next question it is asking which scheme will get the gold medal. If we have a look at the table, we realize that the maximum possible value of the difference of best 1 year return and worst 1 year return is for Reliance Growth, and it is around 288, as the ratio includes asset as well, and that too in denominator. So the ratio will be maximum if denominator is of lower magnitude. And on the careful observation we get to know the lower assets are for Reliance Growth, Birla Dividend Yield Plus, Templeton India Growth, that we found in previous question. and the difference of best 1 year return to worst 1 year return is quite high for these schemes. So on comparing these three companies, we get to know the ratio is the maximum for Reliance Growth. Therefore, the gold medal was given to Reliance Growth. Therefore, option A is the correct answer. In the next question, it is asking which scheme will get the silver medal. We need to check the only three companies that we checked in the previous question for identifying the second highest value of the given ratio, that is the difference between best 1 year return and worst 1 year return to assets, and this company is Templeton Growth India, that has the second highest value of this ratio. Hence option A is the correct answer. In the last question of this set, it is asking based on SEBI's directive, which two schemes will be barred from doing any business in future. So here we have to find the two lowest values of the ratio, and for this we need to look at the schemes that have higher value of assets, as it will be defining factor in minimizing the ratio, as the difference between maximum return and minimum or worst return is not that huge or differentiated. And on checking, we find the companies that have the highest values of assets are HSBC Equity and Franklin India Blues, and their difference of best 1 year return and worst 1 year return are also not that high. So these two companies have the worst two ratios of the given ratio. Hence option A is the correct answer. So in this set, we did not need to do any sort of calculation for any question. It was just observation that was needed for each of the four questions.